The cabin was not a grand thing, just a wooden box tucked away in a forest that had forgotten everything but the wind. Tonight, even the wind was gone. Snow fell in thick, silent sheets, piling up against the windows and muffling the world. Inside, a fire crackled, a stubborn, cheerful sound in the stillness. The air smelled of pine, old books and wood smoke. Time here did not rush, it simply was. In the center of this warmth, two people stood by the window, relearning the shape of silence. Here, silence was a presence. A blanket, heavy and warm. He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her closer. Not grand, just practical. For warmth, for comfort. The cabin seemed to sigh with contentment. Just two people in a wooden box, in a quiet forest, and for now that was everything. They unpacked slowly, deliberately. Each sweater folded, each mug placed, small acts of settling in. Two chipped mugs on the counter, collected over years of shared mornings. She filled the kettle, cocoa tin beside the mugs, a quiet ritual. The bags tucked away, the room felt fuller now. Sweaters, mugs, boots, small declarations. We are here, we are together. The ritual of cocoa was more than a drink. It was a reminder. They were home, if only for now, and the night was just beginning. She poured steaming water into the mugs, chocolate scent filling the kitchen. She handed him his mug, the faded logo one. Their fingers brushed, a fleeting touch. They carried cocoa to the armchairs by the fire, facing each other. "Remember the first time we tried to build a fire?" she asked, smiling. He chuckled. "The time you used a whole newspaper and nearly smoked us out? The smoke alarm, the neighbor with a fire extinguisher. It was a disaster, but a good one." They laughed, remembering soot and late-night talks. Even their failures became shared stories. The firelight danced in her eyes. "It was a very good night," he said quietly. Their conversation was simple. Shared memories, inside jokes, the language of their life. The fire popped as if in agreement. They sipped cocoa, letting the warmth settle in. No grand philosophies, just the comfort of knowing each other's past. The fire, the cocoa, the laughter, this was their language. The night deepened, and so did their connection. The silence was filled with meaning. He leaned back, eyes closed, letting the cabin's sounds wash over him. The fire, the wind, the gentle clink of a spoon, so different from yesterday's city noise. Sirens, honking, the hum of a million people, all gone. In their absence he felt how heavy that noise had been. She watched him, his face relaxed in the firelight. "What are you thinking about?" she asked softly. He opened his eyes. "The city. It's always yelling, isn't it? Here, I can actually hear myself think. Or not think at all." She nodded. "It's like we've been holding our breath, and now we can finally exhale. The only thing on the schedule, keep the fire going, drink cocoa, be. A radical act of rebellion against the life they'd left behind. The city would wait, buried under snow. Here they could just exist. The pressure was gone. The quiet was a gift. They let themselves breathe. The world outside was distant. Inside they found peace. Later they stood on the porch, cold air pricking their cheeks. The world was blue, grey and white. Snow had stopped, and a holy quiet descended. At first there was nothing. Then the subtle symphony of snow, a clump falling from a pine, the whisper of wind, the creak of frozen trees. "Listen," he whispered. The world was breathing in its sleep. They were not just observers, but part of the quiet. She pulled the wool blanket tighter, breathing in the sharp scent of pine. Moonlight made the snow glow. Every edge softened. It was a world made gentle. She felt peace settle into her bones. They stood together, not speaking, sharing the same light, the same air. The silence was full, with snow, trees, moonlight, and each other. Awe filled the moment. The beauty was always there, waiting for them to notice. They listened together. The night was alive with quiet. Back inside, the cabin's warmth wrapped around them. She pulled a heavy quilt from the chest, a patchwork of their life together. They sat close, the quilt over their laps. She traced a faded blue square. "From your college shirt," she said. He remembered laughter, sun and youth. His hand found a floral patch. "From your dress at my sister's wedding." Each patch told a story, a baby blanket, a failed curtain, a pocket from old jeans. The quilt was a map of their journey. They traced seams with their fingers, letting memories speak. The quilt reminded them of all they'd been, all that led them here. It was more than a blanket. It was their history made warm and soft. They sat quietly, wrapped in memory and love. The fire glowed and the past felt close. The fire was embers now, the room filled with soft shadows. He looked at her, really looked, as he hadn't in years. He saw the lines from laughter, from worry, from living. She met his gaze, seeing the weariness and the boy she'd loved. Sometimes the city and years hid him, but here he was clear. "You've been quiet tonight," she whispered. "I'm just tired," he admitted, not just in body but soul, tired of noise, of pretending, of playing a part. "Here I can just be me, with you." She placed her hand over his, warm and steady. "I know," she said, "I get tired too." In that moment they were allies, partners in the quiet battle of life. They understood each other's exhaustion. Her simple "I know" was more comforting than 100 words. It was the sound of being seen, of being understood. The silence between them was full of meaning. They didn't need to say more. The fire's glow softened the world. They sat together, letting the quiet heal them. And it was all he needed to hear. Before bed, he stepped outside once more. The sky was black, scattered with stars. So many he'd forgotten. The city's glow had stolen them, but here the universe was on display. He scooped up snow, each crystal sparkling in the starlight, a universe of tiny miracles in his hand. He felt small but connected to something immense. She appeared in the doorway, wrapped in the quilt, smiling. "What are you doing out here? You'll freeze," she teased. He showed her the snow. "Look, it's perfect." She joined him, huddling close. They looked up at the stars, down at the snow, the universe above, a tiny universe below, two small people, together in the middle of it all. And that, he thought, was perfect. They went inside, shaking off the cold. The cabin was quiet, the fire just glowing coals. They moved through bedtime rituals, brushing teeth, changing, the creak of floorboards. These were the sounds of a shared life. They climbed into bed, the quilt pulled up to their chins. Outside, the world was still, hushed by snow, no sirens, no traffic, just their breathing, slow and synchronized. He reached for her hand under the quilt, a silent promise. "I am here." She rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the rhythm of his breath. Home, she thought, was not a place, but this feeling. The world outside could be cold and vast, but here was warmth and closeness. He felt her head, her hand, the quiet. His mind was still, his heart full. Sleep came gently, not as escape, but as a guest. The last thing he knew was her scent, her breath. The world was hushed. The cabin was safe. And they were together in the perfect embrace of a love that needed no words.